So much for which to be thankful as we just celebrated Veterans Day, of course. Salute to my fellow veterans. Thanksgiving is right around the corner. We hope you and yours, on behalf of everybody here, hope that you and yours are preparing for a safe, blessed holiday season. This is Bill Culhane. I'm grateful to be behind the mic for another episode of The Big Bid Theory, powered by Bid Prime and Beacon Bid. This is the penultimate episode for season 9, and I promise you, I assure you, it's going to be a really good one. Rick will be along, Rick Jennings, our producer. He'll be here in a moment to preview the latest crazy bid coming up at the end of the episode. I reunite with a new friend, person I met at National Procurement Institute's NPI's conference in San Diego, Celeste Walker-Harmon, Assistant Finance Director for Procurement, Chief Procurement Officer for Coral Gables there in Florida. She'll be along to share her expertise, passion, important tips for you to know. Be assured, my friends, no joke, you absolutely do not want to miss my conversation with Celeste. Rick, I teased your tease. What's ahead in Crazy Bids?
You did. Coming up in Crazy Bids for this episode, we are going to explore the wonderful world of software and I guess what kind of fields that it's got its hands into this time. So stay tuned.
Rick, I know you heard my conversation with Celeste, and she shared what she loves about her role in procurement. Many listeners, longtime listeners, many folks know about your day job, but Rick, you've been working on the vendor supplier side world for many years. What do you love about the important role you play? And by the way, hold on a second, Rick. Rick's not going to say it, but I will gladly. Rick is exceptional at what he does. He isn't just a stellar TBBT producer. Rick, what do you love?
I mean, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. With what we do here at Bid Prime and Beacon, I mean, my role has kind of grown from, of course, just managing clients and making sure that we're keeping them appraised of leads that are in their field and everything. But I think the thing that I really love about how my job has evolved is that I do take on a little bit of a like B2G consultant sort of role sometimes. Not that I'm an expert in it or anything, but I mean, we see so much in government procurement here at Bid Prime and Beacon, and you know, I'm always very glad to kind of I guess provide some of my insight to some questions that vendors ask, and I don't know, it still feels kind of awesome to have some of that knowledge and being able to share it with some clients of mine, and I've heard some great success that they've all had with it. So I would have to say that's one particular thing that I really love about my job here.
Hearing messages like that, it's so important. Makes me feel good. And speaking of messages, here we hear from Bid Prime and Beacon Bid. Then Celeste Walker-Harmon stops by the show.
The Big Bid Theory is powered by Bid Prime and Beacon. Well over a decade plus in business, Bid Prime is the premier technology in the industry. Real-time bid notifications, supporting documents, doc search, robust data tools, and more. All backed by unmatched personalized customer support. For a free, no-obligation trial, go to bidprime.com. Are you looking to get more bidders and write better RFPs more quickly? Beacon helps municipalities overcome challenges in the process and increase supplier participation. Agencies are using Beacon to publish and distribute solicitations along with communicating updates to plan holders. eBid allows bidders to easily submit responses and agencies to collect them for evaluation. Also, Beacon is the place for access to the RFP archive, a massive searchable database of previously published RFPs to more quickly write better RFPs. To learn more, visit beaconbid.com.
All right, Rick, thanks for firing those off. Now it's time for our guest. And by the way, don't forget, head over to the description of the podcast for her complete bio. But here's kind of a recap. Celeste Walker-Harmon is the Assistant Finance Director for Procurement, Chief Procurement Officer for the City of Coral Gables. She's been with the city since 2017 and is responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the procurement division. Yep, That equals quite a list of responsibilities. Celeste has 25 plus years of professional procurement experience in the public sector. She's contributed to government public sector areas that include several city and county governments, a public school system, and the Department of Transportation in Georgia. Celeste graduated from the University of Memphis and Webster University, earned her MBA, has an impressive, and I mean an impressive number of certifications and awards. Again, see the episode description for her full bio. I'm so excited. You should be also. Here's Celeste Walker-Harmon. Celeste Walker-Harmon does, in fact, join us here on the Big Bid Theory hotline. Celeste, as I mentioned, went over her bio in the audio version of the podcast. She's the procurement officer for the city of Coral Gables down there in South Florida. Celeste, thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Bill. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I kind of touched upon it in the audio version, how Celeste and I met, how we know each other, and just kind of as a recap here for the folks who are watching on YouTube. So NPI, the National Procurement Institute, held their annual event. I guess it was now a couple of months ago in beautiful San Diego, California. And as part of the program, they had their awards gala. And walking into the room, you walk in, there weren't any assigned seats. And I had the very good fortune that I saw a table, I saw some folks sitting around the table, and I sat down. Well, guess who was sitting to my left? Our very own Celeste. And so it was a great night, a great event.
We had a good time.
First of all, a great time, right? I was surrounded by people from Florida. That was one of the running jokes as the awards gala went along. Florida team, by the way, did great. Awards
so
everywhere.
Did Texas.
Texas did well as well. That's a good plug. Thanks, Celeste.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But let's start there. Just kind of recap NPI. Again, I know it's been a couple of months ago, but as you reflect back, Celeste, what are some of the things that you learned? What did you get out of attending that event?
Definitely building relationships, meeting other people from other organizations and establishing relationships so that we can, support each other and get information from one another. Again, to some of the seminars or informational sessions about learning what's new and latest and greatest and kind of seeing what other people do well. So, in procurement, it's flattery when you copy someone. So to know what someone else does well so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel is usually a plus for us. So it was just, again, building relationships and then seeing what other people are doing really well and setting the stage for benchmarking your organization and kind of moving yourself forward. So it's always a good opportunity to be exposed to that.
Celeste knows this. Some in our audience might know this, but I just got back from South Carolina. They held their event in Myrtle Beach, and it was just agency folks from the state of South Carolina. But one of the things that always impresses me without fail when I go to these events, and Celeste touched upon it very, very well, is that sharing of ideas, that sharing of information, best practices. And Celeste, a moment ago, I heard you say a couple of times, you kind of used the words doing things well. Well, there in Coral Gables, let's start with some of the successes from yourself, your team. What have you been doing over the past year or so plus in helping your neighbors there in Coral Gables?
For one, we just rolled out a new ERP system. So if anyone has ever gone through that whole process knows it's quite the undertaking and a lot of work. And so we're really proud that we successfully, did the implementation for the ERP system. Along with that, we successfully rolled out citywide training to all of our user departments. So that was a big deal as well, too. So piggybacking on that, we have already established like a lot of protocols and guides for our user department, because again, they'll only do as well as you teach them. So we have made it a practice to make sure that we have put our user departments in a position to be successful. So we have made a big effort to roll out thorough procurement guides and process guides for all of our user departments. So we've also, signed up for a couple other awards. So we did get, our FAPO award along with NPI this year. And of course, we always apply for the UPPCC award. So those are some of the things that we're proud that we've done this year. So we're moving things forward.
I could just tell, and again, I know I'm a little biased, but I can just tell from your energy, your personality, that you're a tremendous leader there in Coral Gables. But we've mentioned the NPI award a couple of times, and this isn't necessarily a plug for NPI, but I guess it is, in in part.
Mhm.
The NPI award, what was that process like for somebody who knows nothing about the NPI award?
Okay. The process is actually pretty in depth. It's pretty, detailed. It goes through a lot of different categories that it asks you for information to see if you're benchmarking yourself with your peers, and also far as the standard as far as procurement is concerned. So you go through a lot of questions with answering what do you do as far as how you document things, and do you have processes in place and procedures. And so really, for me, the whole process for the application starts the year after you get the award. So immediately I'm starting now for next year with being able to document, some of those things to make sure that you have met that threshold or that requirement for all of those categories. So it's an in-depth application process. And also you can use it, which I have in the past, to be a stepping stone for some improvements. So some of the questions or some of the things that you may not have scored well on or even got some points for, you can use that as a jumping point to make sure you implement that in your organization to benchmark yourselves. So I have done that in the past with using some things that we did not score well on as some of the things I wanted to implement in years moving forward. So
interesting approach. I like it. So we've touched upon some successes, and I understand, you understand, everybody watching and listening knows that there are also challenges when it comes to working in purchasing, working in procurement. Again, when I was in South Carolina just a week ago or so, I'm hearing virtually everybody I speak with that, want more bidders, especially when it comes to small businesses, women-owned
yes,
businesses, minority, veteran-owned businesses. That's a challenge. And just
yes,
the purchasing process itself, in crafting bids, RFPs, solicitations, getting those put together and published. So everybody, I'm pretty sure, pretty confident watching
universally.
this understands it's not
Yeah.
easy what you
Mm-mm.
folks do. So if you can, and you don't have to, go through your day to day, Celeste, by any means, but what
Mhm.
are some of the challenges that you folks there in Coral Gables in your department are really having to roll up your sleeves and tackle?
We're universally, and it comes along with just being in public procurement, especially here in Florida. It's the transparency, as far as just being open, in which we have no problem with that, but it's just the level of transparency that's required here, where you just have to really be mindful of dotting all of your I's and crossing all of your T's to make sure that you have, made every step in, effort to make sure that you are being fair, as far as the solicitation process is concerned. Here we have met those challenges, and that's fine, but it's still a stressful, microscope to be up under as far as public procurement is concerned. And to, what you alluded to being in the conference with South Carolina, it has gotten pretty stressful to get competition, and not only just competition, but good competition, solid suppliers and, bidders who can bid on our projects. And most recently, it's really, really been hard with construction. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but it's tough getting good competition for construction projects here in South Florida. We happen to be in an area where the weather stays decent year round, and so we're building year round. So we have a lot of projects that we put out that we sometimes get none or one bidder, and that's pretty tough. So that has really been a major hurdle for us here in the last like at least 2 or 3 years.
That echoes, and I kid you not, Celeste, you know this, but for anybody watching our conversation, listening to the conversation on the audio only version of the Big Bid Theory, well, the things Celeste said, I heard in South Carolina a week ago. We heard in San Diego before that, so on and so forth. So it's not unique. Please
Mhm.
understand, you folks watching, it's not unique what Celeste is saying to Coral Gables, to South Florida, to the state of Florida, to the Southeast. It's pretty much what we're hearing all over. One of the things that we've tried to do, Celeste, here in season 9 of the show is we've had a dedicated focus on talking about careers in procurement. One of the reasons I invited you on is because of your leadership position, how long you've been involved in procurement. So for anybody watching or listening, considering a career in purchasing, maybe they're in some other industry, or, and I like to ask this as well, or for anybody who's currently in purchasing, but maybe looking to move to a new position. Well, you can take this wherever direction you want to take it, Celeste. But for anybody considering a position, what would you tell them about the benefits, the considerations, things that people really need to consider before making the move into purchasing?
Purchasing is, for me, you love it or you hate it. It really is two ends of the spectrum. And you're only going to be successful if you love it. And you're going to find that out as soon as you get into this profession, whether or not it's for you. It's not for the faint of heart. And you really have to have the fortitude for this type of work. Honestly, it's not one of those things that you fall into and you're like, oh, it's one thing that you do well or you don't. So it's something that you need to be dedicated to the craft. Most people take that lightly, but it is a craft, and it takes a specialty and some degree of understanding for you to be able to excel and do well in procurement. This is a profession that I always say the devil is in the details. If you are not a detailed person, it depends on what organization, but you're not going to be as successful, or you may struggle, because that's what this particular profession is about. You being detailed, you being thorough and analytical, forward thinking too, is being able to do the job well. But, someone who, loves to have different experiences too. No one project is the same. You're always going to be able to get exposed to different stuff. So if you love that and you have the ability to excel in an environment that is forever changing, then procurement is for you. But, for those things they want static and want things to always be the same, this is not the profession for you.
Yeah, that's well said. And Celeste, I haven't been in purchasing kind of this world as long as you have, but one of the things that I quickly learned is just the vast scope of what agencies, government, the public sector are purchasing. I mean, everything from butter to building these huge construction projects, everything in between, pencils to computers, you name it. I mean, you said it. I mean, no 2 days could be the same.
Nope. No, we buy everything from A to Z, literally. We've bought, we've bought insects for animals at the zoo, so you're buying animals for animals, so you can get involved with down to that kind of detail. But then the next day you're buying a helicopter. So, it just goes from one spectrum to the other. It really does.
Yeah. Why do you love it? A moment ago, when you were talking about the benefits and the considerations of getting into purchasing, you said you have to love it. Why do you love it?
I do. I love it because I love a challenge. I call myself a jack of all trades, master of none, because I get exposed to just about everything. So everything is a learning opportunity for me, and I enjoy that. I enjoy being challenged with having to come up with a new approach or a new idea to be able to solve a problem. So for me, I love it because, again, no 2 days are the same. And so, it's always continuation of another, and you build up on that to the next project with the, the knowledge that you've learned. So I love my job. I actually love what I do. I don't always love the politics and some of the other things that come along with it, but for my job, I do love my job.
So when I ask this question, you possibly have already touched upon your response in some way. Well, a lot of us would like to hit the rewind button, right? And go back to the start. Can't do that, right? The pages keep turning on the calendar. It's a fact of life. But if you could somehow go back in time 25, 30 years as Celeste was embarking on her career, if you could have 10 minutes with Celeste back then, and just what would you tell her in terms of preparing for her career? What do you wish you knew back then that you know now?
Run from procurement. No. So what I would tell myself, at first I would tell myself to have been a little bit more assertive about what direction I wanted to pursue. But realistically, as far as procurement is concerned, I would have been more serious about the path that I was taking and about honing my skill and also adding education to it. When I started out, I won't say how old I am, there really wasn't a path for procurement, or they didn't have programs designed for that or courses. So you really had to carve out your own kind of like educational path with really hands-on experience. And so I would have probably focused or concentrated on that. But the biggest thing that I can give someone a takeaway if they're interested in this, it's just like everything else. And everything is about building relationships and building a relationship not only with your teammates, but also with your customers to help smooth out your process. Because again, if you don't have a good relationship with, your customer, they make life difficult. And that could be in any industry, and also too with your coworkers, because you guys lean on each other and get a lot of experience. So I feel like that building relationships and really focusing on your path and making sure that you dedicate the energy and the time to that will probably want to be one of the most beneficial things you can tell yourself when you're starting out.
Insightful words, Celeste. Thanks for sharing that. I think that'll help a lot of people as they embark on their careers. And we certainly need professional, talented, passionate people in purchasing. So I think you just shared some words that a lot of folks will be able to make use of.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So before we exit stage left, Celeste, so I've been to Coral Gables a number of times. Most recently, a couple of years ago, I was down in Miami, the Keys, Homestead, South Florida. Been to Coral Gables. Absolutely beautiful. I don't know if I'm allowed to say go Marlins, but went to a Marlins game. Okay. Mm-hmm. So went to a Marlins game. Miami's beautiful. Coral Gables is absolutely gorgeous. So I've given a little bit of plug for Coral Gables. What about you? What's great about Coral Gables?
Well, we famous ourselves by saying it's the city beautiful. So you just touched on it. It really is a beautiful city. And we're also called Tree City, USA. The tree canopy here is one of the best and probably the more beautiful that you'll ever see as far as the city is concerned. And they put a focused, effort is towards beautifying that and making that one of the images that stick out as far as our city is concerned. Great people, great food, and they, faction ourselves behind saying, it's a small town with a big city feel, with some of the things that we have to offer, but still giving you the quaintness of a small city. And I will say that the city itself, as far as the government, is really a good place to work. It's hard to say that in most cases these days. But it's a good place to work, and you do feel like that the city itself and the organization feels it treats its employees how it wants to be treated, and it's a place that you feel like that you can grow into.
Very good. Nice plug there for Coral Gables. Well, Celeste, on behalf of our entire The Big Bid Theory team here, our audience tuned in, whether it be on YouTube or the audio version of the podcast, thanks so much for sharing some time with us, and all the best.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
One more time. Let's hear it for Celeste. And I already missed my friend. I'm sure Celeste and I will cross paths in the future. At least I hope so. Our longtime listeners know among the themes here in season 9 has been career opportunities in purchasing procurement. These important positions, as we all agree, I know everybody's nodding their head yes, we need professional, dedicated, creative people. And we like to think that hearing from people like Celeste, Kirk Buffington, Dave Nash, Denisha Harris, and all the others, we hope it's been helpful and informative, maybe even motivating. Maybe if you're in another industry and looking for a new career opportunity, there are opportunities out there. Rick, you're always looking to help. What is in the latest crazy bits?
All right, so this one was actually pretty fun. I got some help from a colleague of mine here, Braden, over at Bid Prime, who asked me to take a look at this. And Sure enough, this is actually one of those opportunities that some of our friends here at TBBT can go after if you are a supplier of software. And also in the spirit of having recently celebrated Veterans Day this past weekend, this is actually a sources sought notice that is posted by the Department of Veterans Affairs. So I wanted to shed some light on this. The title of this procurement is Web-Based Animal Husbandry Database. So if we look into this a little bit deeper, I mean, if you're not aware of what animal husbandry is, it's basically, as I understand it, at least, just kind of the art of like keeping animals and breeding them and having like kind of an ongoing animal situation, I guess, is the best way to describe it, whether it's a farm or just a range or whatever it might be. But if we look into this particular solicitation, so the Department of Veterans Affairs, and specifically the VHA, which is the Veterans Health Administration, they're actually conducting a market survey right now. So they're seeking potential sources for an animal database service. So this is a little bit more than just husbandry itself. If I kind of scroll through some of this, I mean, it's looking for basically like solutions for animal research, like monitoring even things so granular as like tick infestations or like, you know, animal usage, cage cards, managing colonies, just documenting the husbandry process, housing rooms and things like that, all for. And I mean, I wasn't aware that the Department of Veterans Affairs is looking after animals, but hey, if they're putting market research into this, then I mean, that's definitely something that I guess they are looking into. So, yeah, big shout out to Departments of Veterans Affairs. I guess that's a pretty neat. It's a pretty neat solicitation to be a part of. So if you guys are able to provide a software solution that kind of helps, I guess it's basically a big management solution for data and such. I mean, I feel like a lot of our listeners might be able to help with something like that if they're into software. So, hey, if that's the kind of software that you do, then we're going to call this episode's crazy bid that you can win.
You did it again, Rick. And just think, next episode, next time around, will be the final crazy bids of season 9. Hard to believe how time flies when you're having fun. So a few administrative notes here. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter. Twitter handle is @TheBigBidTheory. If you want to check out my Twitter, it's contract_hunter. That's what I go by. The Big Bid Theory is on Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course, YouTube. And tell all your friends about us. We'll be kind of rolling out some episodes over our sabbatical, but more on that next episode. Powered by Bid Prime and Beacon Bid. Applause to Celeste Walker-Harmon. Are you and your agency mirroring or considering some of the approaches that Celeste mentioned? Have you considered a career in purchasing or another opportunity within your agency? Before we say goodbye, I do want to pass along my thanks to Steve Pulley and the wonderful Skagpo team for an amazing event in Myrtle Beach. Includes, by the way, great job on the weather over there. Next episode is the final episode of season 9. Do not miss it. This is Bill Culhane. Until next time, go Gunners, Barracudas, Tigers, Bobcats, and Cubs, and we wish you the very best.
Powered by Bid Prime and Beacon, we thank you for tuning in to the Big Bid Theory. From Austin, Texas, the show is hosted by Bill Culhane, produced by Bill Culhane and Jim Ward, and co-hosted and engineered by Rick Jennings. Distribution, research, and production assistance by Lauren Jones. Among a variety of platforms, you can find other episodes of the show on iHeart, iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Play, and also YouTube. Thank you for downloading and sharing the podcast.
We're having so much fun, so much fun.